Have you ever had a random, disturbing thought that just wouldn't leave your head, no matter how hard you tried to ignore it? For most people, that thought fades. But for someone with obsessive-compulsive disorder, it doesn't. It echoes. It grows louder. It demands action, until you feel trapped inside your own mind. This isn't just about being neat or organized. It's a war between the brain's warning system and the need for control. Today, we'll go inside the OCD mind to uncover the hidden psychology, the real brain science, and the hope for rewiring obsession. Imagine this: you're walking down the street, and suddenly a random, disturbing thought flashes through your mind. What if I push someone into traffic? It's an intrusive thought, strange and unwanted. Most people would brush it off, maybe shake their head, and move on. But for someone with obsessive-compulsive disorder, that thought doesn't fade. It latches on, replaying, magnifying, twisting into an unbearable sense of dread. The mind starts whispering, "Why did I think that? Does that mean I want to do it? What's wrong with me?" This is the cruel paradox of OCD, a disorder where the very effort to find control creates chaos. In psychology, OCD is classified as an anxiety-related condition marked by two central components: obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are intrusive, unwanted thoughts, images, or urges that cause intense anxiety or distress. Compulsions are the repetitive behaviors or mental rituals performed to neutralize that anxiety. The more one resists the obsession, the stronger it becomes. It's like trying not to think of a pink elephant. The harder you fight it, the louder it stomps through your thoughts. Psychologists call this phenomenon thought-action fusion, the belief that simply having a bad thought is morally or practically equivalent to doing something bad. This distorted connection between thought and action convinces the person that their mind is dangerous, that they must constantly monitor, correct, or neutralize every thought to prevent disaster. On a biological level, OCD is deeply rooted in the brain's error detection system. Normally, your orbitofrontal cortex, a region right behind your eyes, acts as an internal warning signal. It tells you when something feels off. Did I lock the door? Or, is the stove still on? For most people, once they check and confirm, the alarm quiets down. But for someone with OCD, the alarm system malfunctions. It doesn't turn off, even when everything is perfectly fine. This constant false alert is amplified by overactivity in the anterior cingulate cortex, which processes anxiety and emotional conflict. The brain keeps signaling that something is wrong, creating a loop of fear and doubt. Every time the person checks, washes, counts, or repeats, the anxiety briefly drops, but only for a moment. The brain learns that performing the ritual reduces fear, reinforcing the behavior. If you could look inside the OCD brain, you wouldn't see chaos, you'd see overcontrol. The OCD brain doesn't fail because it's lazy or weak. It fails because it's working too hard. It's a brain that refuses to trust itself, constantly overanalyzing every signal, every thought, every possibility, trying to protect you from mistakes that don't even exist. To understand this, psychologists and neuroscientists study a system called the corticostriato-thalamocortical (CSCC) loop, the brain's control circuit. This loop connects four main regions: the orbitofrontal cortex, OFC, which detects errors or potential threats; the striatum, specifically the caudate nucleus, which filters and sorts information, deciding what deserves attention; the thalamus, a relay center that sends, approved, signals back to the cortex; the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, which evaluates emotional conflicts and determines if action is needed. In a healthy brain, this system works like a traffic light. The orbitofrontal cortex detects a problem, the striatum filters it, and the thalamus sends a green light only if a real threat exists. Once the problem is solved, the circuit quiets down. But in OCD, this traffic system malfunctions. The orbitofrontal cortex keeps sending red alerts. Something's wrong! Fix it! Even when the issue is resolved. The striatum fails to filter these alarms properly, and the thalamus keeps looping the same message back to the cortex. The result? The person's brain is stuck in an endless feedback loop, unable to switch off the sense of danger. This overactive alarm system explains why OCD feels so real. Even when you know you locked the door, the brain insists you didn't. Even when you know your hands are clean, the alarm screams. Contaminated! The logic circuits and emotional circuits are at war, and emotion always wins. One of the most powerful discoveries in neuroscience is how serotonin, a neurotransmitter responsible for mood and anxiety regulation, affects this loop. In people with OCD, serotonin activity in the CSCC circuit is often disrupted, reducing the brain's ability to move on from perceived mistakes. It's like emotional Velcro. Everything sticks. That's why SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, medications that increase serotonin availability, can help ease symptoms by reducing this sticky feedback loop. But medication alone rarely rewires the deeper pattern. That's where psychological therapy steps in, particularly exposure and response prevention, ERP, a branch of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, specifically designed for OCD. ERP is both simple and brutal. It forces the brain to face its fear without performing the ritual. For example, someone afraid of contamination might be asked to touch a dirty doorknob and then not wash their hands. The anxiety surges like a wave, heart racing, thoughts screaming that something terrible will happen. Freedom from OCD doesn't mean a silent mind. It doesn't mean never having intrusive thoughts again, because everyone does. Freedom means something far more powerful, learning to live with your mind instead of against it. For many who battle OCD, recovery begins not with fighting their thoughts, but with changing their relationship to them. The old strategy, to control, suppress, or eliminate every thought, only strengthens the disorder. The more you try to silence the noise, the louder it grows. The real breakthrough happens when you stop wrestling with your thoughts and start observing them. This is the essence of mindfulness, a concept that has moved from ancient philosophy into modern neuroscience. Mindfulness teaches a radical idea: thoughts are not facts. They're mental events, fleeting signals passing through consciousness. The moment you begin to see your thoughts as weather patterns instead of commands, their power dissolves. Imagine sitting on a riverbank, watching the current flow. Your thoughts drift by like leaves, some dark, some bright. OCD tries to convince you to dive in, to chase or inspect every leaf. But mindfulness says, stay on the bank. Watch. Let them pass. This mental distance is not denial. It's awareness. And awareness is what rewires the brain. Neuroscientists have found that mindfulness practice changes the amygdala, the brain's fear center, reducing its reactivity over time. Simultaneously, it strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for focus and rational control. In other words, mindfulness helps you regain the driver's seat. But mindfulness alone isn't enough. To truly heal, you must also transform how you treat yourself, especially when your mind turns cruel. People with OCD often suffer not only from intrusive thoughts, but from deep self-blame. They believe that having a disturbing thought, "What if I hurt someone?" or "What if I'm a bad person?" means something is fundamentally wrong with them. This is called moral scrupulosity, and it's one of OCD's most painful traps. The way out begins with self-compassion. Self-compassion isn't weakness or indulgence. It's psychological medicine. Studies from Stanford and Harvard have shown that when individuals practice kindness toward their own thoughts, their brain's self-criticism circuits calm down. Guilt and shame stop fueling the compulsive cycle. Self-compassion sounds simple, but it's revolutionary for someone with OCD. It means telling yourself, I'm not my thoughts. My brain is overreacting right now, and that's okay. It means forgiving yourself for mental noise you can't control. It means realizing that intrusive thoughts are a symptom, not a sin. This new mindset transforms the healing process. Instead of seeing OCD as an enemy to be destroyed, you begin to see it as an overprotective part of you, a frightened guard dog barking too loudly. The goal isn't to kill the dog, it's to teach it when to rest.